Mourning did not cleanse the twins. It only revealed what the night had done. Smoke drifted over the river in thin, sour ribbons. On the east bank, blackened frames of siege engines stood like dead trees, and men moved among them with the careful, angry patience of ants rebuilding after a boot. Across the water, Tywin Lannister's canopy still stood, stubborn as his will, and the line of red cloaks had tightened into a new shape. Less confident, more wary, as if the darkness had taught them the river could bite. Robb Stark stood on the battlement with a bandage at his brow and dried blood at his collar. He watched the east bank the way a wolf watched a snare. Not afraid, but alert to the moment it might tighten. Beside him, Yohn Royce was silent, bronze armor dull in the weak light, his presence an anchor. Catelyn stood just behind them, hands hidden in her cloak, eyes fixed on the far side as if staring hard enough could force the lion to blink. Below, Edmure Tully shouted at archers along the parapet, his voice cracked but relentless. "Save your arrows," he bellowed. "Kill the hands, not the shields. If they bring ladders, you cut them down." Brynden Tully lifted a hand and pointed across the river. "He's respacing his men," the Blackfish said, pulling them back from the bank. "He'll probe first. He'll try small boats, try ladders, try a night crawl. If he can take one tower door, he'll call it victory. And if he can't," Lyn Corbray murmured, leaning against stone, "he'll try to make us hungry enough to open it for him." Robb's jaw tightened. Hunger. Always hunger. The Riverlands was a mouth with broken teeth, and Tywin had always understood that starving a man was often easier than beating him. "We don't let him settle," Robb said, voice low. Yohn's gaze slid to him. "You want another raid?" he asked. Robb shook his head once. "Raids don't end sieges," he said. "They interrupt them. I want this siege to rot." He turned, looking along the parapet, at the men with raw hands and wet cloaks and eyes too old. "We hold the twins, we keep the bridge, and we make every road behind Tywin bleed." Brynden's mouth twitched. "The River Lords will love that," he said. "They're already boiling with it." Catelyn's gaze flicked to a raven perched on a broken crenel, watching them with bright, indifferent eyes. "Ravens fly faster than horses," she said softly. "Tywin knows that too." Robb nodded. "Then we fly first," he said. He turned to a captain and pointed down the tower stairs. "Send riders to every river lord within 2 days' ride. Tell them to bring men, bring axes, bring torches. Not to fight Tywin's line, he's too strong for that, but to cut his wagons, cut his forage parties, cut his messages. Any red cloak found outside his camp dies." The captain bowed and hurried off. Yohn's voice remained steady. "And the Vale?" he asked. Robb's eyes hardened. "Those who stay, stay," he said. "Those who go, go. But we make it clear what they are leaving. Gee." He glanced to the river, to the smoke, to the battered gate. "A bridge that holds back the lion." Lyn Corbray's smile sharpened. "A bridge is a lovely thing," he said. "So many men can die on it." Robb ignored him. His gaze remained on Tywin's canopy. "He thinks time is his," Robb said quietly. "He thinks stone will crack before his patience does." Catelyn felt the cold of that statement settle into her bones, because she had known men like Tywin. They did not grow tired. They did not grow bored. They simply changed tactics until the world broke. "What do you do with the Leash?" Brynden asked, and he did not need to say the name. Roose Bolton's presence hung over them like a stain. Robb's eyes narrowed. "We show him," he said, "to every northern lord who still doubts, to every river lord who thinks treachery is clever. We show him in chains until the realm understands what betrayal costs." "And if Tywin offers a trade," Catelyn said, because she could already feel that knife being sharpened. "Wolves for leeches, Freys for Boltons." Robb's mouth tightened. "Then I spit on the offer," he said. "He doesn't get to buy his way out of breaking guest right." Across the river, a horn sounded low, controlled. Men shifted. Shields rose. Tywin Lannister did not rage across the water. He did not throw words. He simply began again, as if the night raid had been a minor inconvenience. Robb watched him, bandage bright against gray dawn, and felt something inside him settle into the hardest kind of certainty. "Let him begin," Robb whispered. "We'll make him regret every step." On the east bank, Tywin Lannister treated Ruin as if it were a ledger entry. He stood beneath his canopy while smoke curled behind him and men dragged charred timber out of the mud. Ser Kevan Lannister spoke in a low voice, steady and pragmatic, naming losses, naming replacements, naming what could be rebuilt and what could not. "Marbrand is dead," Kevan said. "The men feel it." He held them together. Tywin's eyes did not flicker. "Then someone else holds them together," he replied. An officer stepped forward, face tight. "The Scorpions, too, are crippled. We can mend one by dusk if we have rope and—" "Find rope," Tywin said. Another officer tried. "The ram roof. Rebuild it," Tywin said. Excuses died quickly around Tywin Lannister because he made them feel like shame. Gregor Clegane sat on a bench nearby, his arm wrapped stiffly, blood seeping through cloth in slow, angry stains. His face was swollen where helmet and spear but had wrung him. His eyes burned like coals in a cracked hearth. "The wolf was there," Gregor growled, voice thick. "I should have. You should have done what you were paid to do," Tywin interrupted, and his calm made the mountain's rage look childish. "And you will continue to do it when your arm stops bleeding like a wineskin." Gregor's mouth worked, and for a moment it looked as if he might erupt. Then he swallowed it. Even monsters understood Tywin's weight. Qyburn hovered at the edge of the canopy, holding a small leather case. Needles, powders, herbs that did not belong on battlefields but appeared there anyway. His eyes shone with quiet interest. "The Boy King's raid was bold," Qyburn said softly, as if complimenting a patient. "Bold men are prone to overreach." Tywin's gaze slid to him. "Bold men are also prone to inspiring others," Tywin replied. "I do not fear his boldness. I fear his story." Kevan frowned. "The confession," he said quietly. "Roose Bolton's letter is already on raven wings." Tywin's mouth tightened. "Then we drown it," he said. "We call it coerced. We call it theater. We call it Northern Lies." His eyes narrowed toward the twins. "And we make a louder story. The twins falls. The rebel king is humbled. The Vale learns what happens when it rides against the realm." The captain swallowed. "The Vale," he began, "may not leave Robert Arryn." Tywin lifted a hand, stopping the sentence. "Petyr Baelish exists for a reason," he said. "If he cannot pull the Vale home with rings and whispers, he will pull it home with fear." Kevan's gaze sharpened. "And if Baelish fails?" he asked. Tywin's answer was simple. "Then we create a new fear," he said. Qyburn's fingers brushed his leather case. "Fear can be administered," he murmured. Tywin ignored the insinuation, but his eyes did not soften. He looked at the towers across the river and spoke as if he were naming the weather. "We stop striking the gate until we must," Tywin said. "We probe all night. We force them to stand awake. We cut their sleep. We cut their food. We cut their hope." He turned, gaze sharp. "And we punish the lands that feed them. Burn any village that sends bread across that bridge. Hang any man caught carrying arrows. Make them watch their own people suffer for their stubbornness." Kevan hesitated. "That will inflame the Riverlands." "It is already inflamed," Tywin replied. "Let it burn where I can see it." Gregor Clegane's low laugh rumbled, eager. "I can burn," he said. Tywin looked at him. "You will," Tywin answered, and the words were not permission so much as assignment. "But you will burn where it hurts him, not where it pleases you." The officers bowed and scattered, carrying Tywin's calm cruelty outward like a contagion. Tywin remained beneath the canopy, smoke curling behind him, the river between him and the towers like a line drawn in ink. He had wanted a feast to end this war. Now he would end it with time and hunger and fear, because those were the weapons that never dulled. In the Eyrie, the war arrived as paper and breath. Anya Waynwood held Robb Stark's raven scroll so Robert Arryn could read it without his hands shaking too badly. The direwolf seal had been pressed hard into wax, as if the king who used it wanted the veil to feel the weight of his thumb. Robert's eyes moved slowly across the words. He read like a frightened child forced into the language of knives. Carefully, pausing, swallowing, returning to lines as if making sure they did not change when he blinked. Petyr Baelish stood a few steps away, smile stretched thin. His mockingbird clasp gleamed, and the gleam looked suddenly arrogant in this hall of pale stone and sharper honor. Lysa Arryn hovered beside him, hands ringing, her ring catching light like a promise she could not fully understand. Around them, the Vale Lords split into clusters, voices tight. "Tywin will march on the bloody gate," one said. "He cannot," another snapped. "He bleeds at the twins." "He bleeds and still walks," a third muttered. Anya lifted her voice, cutting through the murmurs. "Lord Robert Arryn has ordered the host to remain until the twins is secure," she said. "That is the law of this hall." Peter's smile warmed at once, practiced. "The law of this hall," he echoed softly. "And the law of the realm?" He lifted his hands, gentle as a priest. "My lady, I do not oppose courage. I oppose suicide." Nestor Royce's mouth tightened. "Call it what it is," he said. "You oppose war because war does not pay you as cleanly as peace." Peter's eyes flickered. "Peace pays everyone," he said. "It keeps children alive." Robert flinched at the word children, as if it were a threat. He looked up at Petyr, then at Anya, then down again. His throat worked. Horton Redfort stepped forward with the second parchment. Roose Bolton's confession, copied, sealed, witnessed. "Tywin Lannister buys traitors," he said, voice cold. "He bought Walder Frey. He bought Roose Bolton. You would have us believe he cannot buy you." Peter's smile tightened. "Accusations," he said lightly, "and desperate ones." Anya's eyes sharpened. "Desperate," she agreed, "because desperate men do desperate things, like trying to steal a kingdom through a marriage bed." Lisa's breath hitched. He loves me," she whispered, as if the hall needed to hear it to make it true. Petyr turned to her instantly, his voice softening into honey. "Of course I do," he murmured. "I came for you, didn't I?" His hand rested on her arm, possessive, steadying. "Lysa, sweet. This hall wants you frightened and alone. They want you broken so they can rule through your son." Lisa's eyes filled again. She looked at Robert as if he were already slipping away. Robert's voice rose, thin and trembling. "Stop," he whispered. The word barely carried, but it carried enough. The hall quieted because the hall had learned to listen when its lord tried to speak. Robert swallowed hard. I don't want," his breath hitched. "I don't want you to fight." Peter's smile softened, ready to catch him. "Then you recall them, my lord," he whispered. "You bring them home. You keep your people safe." Robert's hands shook around the direwolf scroll. He looked at Anya, and there was a pleading in his eyes, a child begging not to be pushed onto the cliff edge. Anya stepped closer, voice gentle in a way that did not sound like manipulation. "My lord," she said, "if we leave now, Tywin Lannister takes the twins. He frees Walder Frey. He tells the realm the Vale ran home while guests bled. He makes your name a mockery." She paused, letting the truth breathe. "And he will come for your gates next, when he has finished punishing the Riverlands." Robert shuddered. He did not want to be brave. He wanted to be safe. The tragedy was that safety demanded bravery. His gaze flicked to the moon door, to the guards near it, to the open sky beyond. He swallowed again, small throat working like a man trying to push a stone down. "I said," Robert whispered, voice cracking. "Not like cowards." Lisa's face twisted, hurt and desperate. Peter's eyes narrowed, only for a heartbeat. Anya's posture straightened, relief and resolve braided together. "Then we hold to your word," she said, "and we send ravens to every Vale Lord, every banner, Her gaze hardened. "We make it clear. Any man who runs now runs from his own lord." Petyr laughed softly, as if amused by idealism. "And when Tywin's gold reaches them first?" he asked. "When fear reaches them first?" Anya's eyes locked onto him. "Then we meet fear with truth," she said. She lifted Roose Bolton's confession. "And we meet gold with steel." The wind pushed the curtains, making them billow like pale ghosts. Robert Arryn stood trembling with a raven scroll in his hands, and for once he did not look toward the moon door. He looked toward the world. They caught the courier where the road still smelled of burnt thatch. A small village lay in ruins nearby, black beams, collapsed roofs, ash drifting like gray snow. Crows perched on fence posts and watched men with the patient hunger of creatures who never needed to choose sides. The Riverlands had become a place where even birds looked wiser than lords. The Lannister courier tried to ride through fast, head down, cloak pulled tight. Vale riders took him from the saddle with practiced violence, dragging him into the mud and binding his hands before he could say his first lie. Northmen held him down, boots on his shoulders, as if pinning him could pin the message too. Brynden Tully picked through the courier's satchel with grim care. "King's Landing seal," he muttered, and held up a folded letter, wax stamped with the crown. Robb took it with fingers that did not shake. Catelyn stood close enough to see the seal crack under his thumb. For a heartbeat, her mind went to Sansa. Green eyes, terrified obedience, the taste of helplessness that had haunted Catelyn since the day she sent her daughters south. Robb read, and the muscle in his jaw tightened like a rope. Catelyn leaned in and saw the words, threats dressed as proclamations. Joffrey's name, Cersei's hand behind it, a line that made Catelyn's breath turn to ice. If the rebel king does not submit, the traitor's daughter will be punished for his defiance. Sansa, Catelyn's vision narrowed, and for a moment she saw the September of Baelor, saw her husband's head falling, saw her daughter's face watching it, watching the world become a nightmare. Robb's hand crumpled the letter. Then he forced it flat again, as if he could not afford to let rage make him careless. Yohn Royce watched him, bronze calm. "They press where they can," Yohn said quietly. "They always do," Catelyn whispered. The courier lifted his head, lips trembling. "I was told to deliver it," he said quickly, voice breaking. "That's all. I'm just—" Gray wind snarled, low and vibrating. The courier flinched hard enough to bruise his own pride. Robb crouched until they were eye level. "Who else carries messages like this?" Robb asked. The courier swallowed. "Ravens," he whispered. "Riders. Gold cloaks." He shook his head, desperate. "They want the realm to believe you're doomed. They want your men to hear their threats and think you can't protect your own blood." Robb's eyes hardened. "And can I?" he asked, not as a question to the courier, but as a question to the world. Catelyn placed her hand on Robb's shoulder, careful, brief. "We will," she said. "We will bring her home." Robb's gaze stayed on the courier. "You will write a reply," Robb said. The man's eyes widened. "A reply?" "Yes," Robb said, voice cold. "You will tell Cersei Lannister that if my sister is harmed, every Frey hostage in the twins dies before the next dawn. You will tell her that if she touches one hair on Sansa Stark's head, Walder Frey will be hanged. From his own bridge." His mouth tightened. "And you will tell her the Vale rides, and the North does not kneel." The courier trembled. "They'll kill me," he whispered. Robb's smile was thin and humorless. "Then they admit I spoke truth," he said. Brynden grunted approval. "That's a message worth dying for," he muttered. Yohn Royce's gaze did not soften. "And it tells them something else," he added. "You will not be baited into surrender by hostage threats." Robb stood, turning toward the smoke on the horizon where the twins waited under siege. He stared at the burnt village for a long moment. "They burn villages," Robb said softly. "They threaten girls." His voice roughened. "They think that makes them strong." He looked down at his sword, at the edge still stained from too many nights. "It makes them targets," he said. "In King's Landing, Cruelty wore a crown and called itself justice. Joffrey Baratheon lounged on the Iron Throne as if it were built for him and not for the men it had cut. He smiled down at the hall with boyish delight, a predator discovering that fear could be made into entertainment. Cersei stood beside him in green silk, posture perfect, eyes sharp. Her smile was thinner, more controlled, less joy, more calculation. Sansa Stark stood below, hands clasped so tightly her fingers looked bloodless. Her face was pale, her eyes lowered, as if staring at the floor could make her invisible. It did not. Nothing made you invisible in King's Landing. Not innocence, not obedience, not tears. Margaery Tyrell watched from a little distance, expression careful, her own smile soft and unreadable. Varys stood near a pillar, hands folded, eyes full of quiet concern that might have been real and might have been theater. In this city, even concern could be purchased. A gold cloak stepped forward and bowed, offering a letter. The courier's reply, carried by fear and mud and the certainty that any message could become a weapon. Cersei took it first. Her eyes moved across the words, and something in her face tightened. She passed it to Joffrey with a flick of her wrist. Joffrey read aloud, his voice gleeful at first, until he reached the lines about hostages and hangings. His smile faltered, his cheeks flushed. "They threaten me?" he squeaked, and the squeak betrayed the child beneath the crown. "They threaten your mother's plans," Cersei said, voice soft enough to sound soothing and sharp enough to cut. "And they threaten the phrase." Joffrey's eyes flicked toward Sansa, and something ugly stirred there. "Then we should," he began, and his gaze sharpened like a blade. "We should cut her." Sansa's breath hitched, but she did not run. She could not. She stood like a statue carved from fear. Margaery's voice slipped in, gentle as silk. "Your Grace," she said softly. "The realm watches." Joffrey turned on her, bristling. "Let them watch. They will," Margaery agreed, still smiling. "And the faith will speak, and the lords will whisper." Her eyes flicked briefly toward Varys, then back. "A king is strongest when he appears merciful." Cersei's mouth tightened at the word merciful. She did not believe in mercy. She believed in control. Varys stepped forward slightly, voice soft. "The phrase are useful," he murmured, "and a hostage is only useful while she lives." Joffrey's face twisted. "She's not useful," he spat. "She's a wolf." Sansa's hands trembled. She stared at her own fingers and tried to imagine snow. Winterfell, the smell of pine, her father's voice, anything that was not this hall. Cersei leaned close to Joffrey, speaking low enough that only he could hear, but Sansa saw the movement and knew poison when she smelled it. "If you kill her," Cersei whispered, "you make Robb Stark righteous. You make him a martyr maker." Her eyes narrowed. "If you keep her breathing, you keep a hook in his mouth." Joffrey's lip quivered. "He's supposed to be dead," he muttered. "He isn't," Cersei said. Joffrey flung the letter down. "Then I want him to suffer," he snarled. Cersei straightened, smile returning, cold, composed. "He will," she promised. She looked down at Sansa as if appraising a piece of jewelry. "And you will be very careful," she told her softly, "because if your brother keeps making threats, the price will come due. Not in one dramatic cut, but in small, endless humiliations." Sansa lifted her eyes then, just for a heartbeat. She looked at Cersei and saw not a queen, but a predator wearing a crown's shadow. Varys's gaze met Sansa's for an instant, and in it she saw something like pity. It did not help. Pity did not open doors. Above them, the raven cage rattled faintly, as if the birds inside sensed how many messages would be needed to keep the realm from slipping. Cersei turned away from Sansa and spoke to the court, voice bright. "We will respond," she announced. "We will show the realm what happens when rebels threaten the crown." And in the throne room, the Iron Throne gleamed, hungry as ever, while a girl from the north stood very still and listened to her fate being discussed like a strategy. Tywin Lannister tested the twins the way a man tested ice, quietly at night with men he could afford to lose. Fog rolled over the river, thick and low, swallowing the far bank's fires and turning the water into a moving sheet of black glass. The sound of oars was almost nothing, soft dips, slow pulls, men holding their breath as if breath could betray them. Small boats slid out of the east bank's darkness, low in the water, packed with red-cloaked men crouched beneath damp cloaks. Grappling hooks lay at their feet like metal claws. Their plan was simple: reach the west parapet unseen, throw hooks, climb, open something from within. A crack, a moment, that was all sieges needed. On the west bank, the twins waited in silence. Archers lined the parapet with bows drawn, their faces blackened, their breath held. Vale men and Northmen stood shoulder to shoulder behind stone, eyes narrowed, listening not to sound but to the feeling of the fog. Where it moved wrong, where it thickened, where it hid shapes. Edmure Tully stood by a cauldron of pitch with a torch in hand. His jaw clenched so hard it looked painful. He had wanted glory once. Now he wanted only to keep the gate closed. Robb watched from a shadowed battlement with gray wind beside him. The wolf's ears pricked. Jon Royce stood near, one hand lifted, fingers poised to signal. "Wait," Jon whispered. The boats drifted closer, closer. Robb's heart beat slow and heavy. He could feel the temptation to fire too soon, to turn fear into noise. Noise was what Tywin wanted. Noise meant panic. Panic meant mistakes. Gray wind growled low, barely more than vibration. Hooks rose in the boats, hands tightening around wet rope. Jon's fingers moved. Down the parapet line, Vale and Northmen shifted as one organism. Arrows knocked, strings tightened. "Now," Robb said softly. The night answered with a hiss. A volley snapped out, arrows vanishing into fog and returning as screams. A boat lurched as a man fell across it. Throat opened. Another boat rocked, a shaft buried in a rower's chest. Oars splashed wildly. Men cursed. "Hooks!" Someone shouted from the boats. Desperate. "Throw, throw!" Edmure slammed his torch into the pitch cauldron. Flame leapt. The pitch caught like hungry black fire. "Boo!" Edmure roared. Pitch spilled down from the parapet in thick, burning sheets. It hit the nearest boat's prow and clung, flame licking across wet wood as if rain did not exist. Men screamed when burning pitch touched cloaks, hands, faces. One man threw himself into the river, splashing, trying to drown fire with water. The river took him, and the fire followed, floating on the surface in ugly orange patches. A grappling hook flew anyway, clanging against stone. A rope went taut. A red-cloaked man began to climb, teeth clenched. Gray wind surged forward with a snarl, lunging at the rope where it met parapet. His jaws closed. He shook once, savage and sudden. The rope snapped. The climber fell back. Into the boat with a crack and a scream. More arrows hissed. More boats rocked. Men tried to turn back, oars churning. From the east bank, a horn sounded, retreat. The surviving boats spun clumsily, trying to escape the trap they had sailed into. Some made it, some didn't. One boat caught fire fully and became a drifting torch on the water, men tumbling out of it like burning dolls. Robb watched the retreat through fog, expression hard. Tywin's test had cost men. It had not cost the twins. "Again," Robb murmured, not as a complaint, but as certainty. "He'll try again." Jon nodded once. "And we'll kill them again," he replied. The fog swallowed the last boat, and the river went quiet again. Quiet in the way a mouth went quiet after it finished chewing. At dawn, Robb Stark did not wait for Tywin to choose the hour of pain. He opened the gate. Not wide, not foolishly, just enough for a blade to slip out. The portcullis groaned upward. Men surged beneath it in a tight column. Vale heavy cavalry first, shields up, then Northmen with axes and spears, then a second line ready to drag wounded back. It was not a battle meant to win the siege. It was a bite meant to make the lion flinch. Jon Royce rode at the front like a moving wall, bronze armor catching pale light. He did not shout. He did not boast. He simply drove forward, and men made room or died. On the tower, Edmure bellowed, voice raw. Go! 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 They hit the east bank's nearest Scorpion line, where it was still half-broken from the night raid. Lannister crews scrambled, hands fumbling for cranks, eyes wide with the shock of being attacked from the side they thought had been contained. Cut the strings! Robb shouted, and Northmen surged in, axes biting into taut bowstrings and thick rope. A Scorpion fired once, wild. The bolt tore through a Vale shield rim and embedded in a horse's flank. The horse screamed and went down, thrashing. A rider rolled free, came up with his sword already moving. Jon Royce slammed into the Scorpion frame with his shield, shoving it over. Men beneath it screamed as wood and iron crushed them. Northmen finished the job with brutal efficiency. Axe to neck, spear to gut. No mercy given to men who had come to burn villages and laugh at broken bread. Lannister officers shouted, trying to form a shield wall. Red cloaks tightened into a line, spears bristling, discipline forced into place by fear. Robb saw it and measured. Don't chase, he ordered. Break the teeth. Take prisoners if you can. Then back. Jon's horse snorted, and he wheeled his men with practiced precision. They surged toward a second engine, set it alight with oil and torch, then slammed back into the line, keeping pressure without being swallowed. Across the field, Tywin Lannister appeared under his canopy, calm even as his men stumbled. He watched the sortie with narrowed eyes, as if counting how many heartbeats it lasted, how many bodies it cost. Ser Gregor Clegane stood farther back, black bulk unmoving. He looked toward Robb like a wounded beast watching the hunter who had made it bleed. The Lannister shield wall began to advance, slow and heavy. If it reached the sortie line's flanks, it would turn the bite into a trap. Back! Robb shouted. Vale shields slammed into place, forming a moving arc as they withdrew. Northmen dragged wounded. A man with an arrow in his thigh screamed through clenched teeth as two others hauled him backward like a sack. A Lannister knight broke formation and charged, eager for glory. Grey wind lunged from the sortie's shadow and took the horse's leg out. Horse and rider fell hard. Robb's sword ended the rider before he could rise. They retreated in disciplined bursts, never turning their backs fully. Always stabbing, always shoving. As they crossed back toward the gate, Robb glanced over his shoulder and saw Tywin's canopy still standing. Tywin had not moved. Tywin did not need to. His war did not live in his legs. It lived in time. Yet the scorpions behind the shield wall were burning. The teeth were breaking. The gate swallowed wolf and falcon again, and the portcullis slammed down. On the west bank, men breathed hard, faces smeared with soot and blood, hands trembling with the realization that they had stepped into the lion's mouth and stepped back out again. Robb stood on the bridge afterward, staring across the river at Tywin. Behind him, Roose Bolton's chained wagon waited like a reminder that betrayal had been captured but not yet killed. Robb lifted his sword slightly, not in salute, not in challenge, only in promise. Tywin stared back. Neither man looked away. The Riverlands did not need to be asked twice to hate Tywin Lannister. When Robb sent word, quiet, urgent, men began to appear from places war had taught them to hide. Riverlords who had been licking wounds brought riders. Small folk who had lost children brought knives. And from the woods came men who did not wear any lord's colors at all, only the ragged certainty of those who had decided the law had failed them. Beric Dondarrion arrived at dusk like a rumor made flesh. His armor was battered. His cloak was patched. His eyes looked too old for his face. And in his hand, when he chose to show it, flame danced along steel as if the sword itself remembered a different kind of justice. Thuras of Myr stood near him with a torch and a crooked grin, smelling of smoke and cheap wine and faith that refused to die. Jon Royce regarded them with wary respect. Brotherhood, he said, voice neutral. Outlaws, Edmure would have called them. Saints, small folk whispered. Robb saw only weapons. They burn our villages, Beric said, voice quiet. They hang our sons. They take our daughters. We bleed them back. Robb nodded once. Then bleed them where it matters, he replied. That night, a Lannister foraging party slipped into the woods beyond Tywin's camp, confident behind red cloaks and steel. They moved like men who believed the war belonged to them, collecting grain, taking chickens, dragging a sobbing farmer by the collar as if he were loot. They never saw the line of hidden men among the brush. They never saw Grey Wind crouched low, ears flat, eyes bright. They never saw Beric Dondarrion's flaming sword until it was too late. The ambush began with silence. An arrow through a throat, a blade in a back, a man's scream cut short by a hand clamped over his mouth. Then the woods erupted. Grey Wind hit the first Lannister horse and dragged it down, jaws snapping, mud and leaves spraying. Riverlord men surged from brush with spears, pinning red cloaks to trees. Vale knights moved like disciplined wolves, cutting down anyone trying to form ranks. Beric's sword flared, and in the brief light it cast, the Lannister men looked like frightened boys again. Flame licked along mail. A man screamed when fire kissed his sleeve. Thuras shouted something in a language the Lannisters did not understand and laughed as if death were a tavern joke. A Lannister sergeant tried to rally. Shields! Shields! But his shield meant nothing when a flaming blade cut through the fear behind his eyes. Beric's sword struck, and the sergeant fell, hands reaching for a faith he didn't have. The farmer they had dragged stumbled free, eyes wide. He stared at Robb Stark's direwolf pin as if seeing a legend. Go, Robb told him, voice hard. Hide. Live. The man ran into darkness, sobbing. When the ambush ended, the woods smelled of smoke and blood. Bodies lay among fallen leaves. Red cloaks darkened with mud. The surviving Lannisters were bound and gagged, their eyes wild.
Biri.
C looked at Robb, flame dying down on his blade until it was only steel again. This is justice, he said softly. Robb's gaze stayed on the bound men. This is war, he answered. Jon Royce's voice was calm. And it is hunger, he added. Every foraging party we kill is a day Tywin's men eat less. Thuras grinned. Then let them starve, he said, and spat into the mud. From the far side of the woods, faint horns sounded. Tywin's camp reacting, searching, trying to understand why the Riverlands kept biting. Robb turned his horse toward the twins, toward the siege, toward the slow grind of stone and time. Again, he said, and the men who had learned to survive in broken woods nodded, because in the Riverlands, again was the only prayer left that mattered. Truth did not travel alone, traveled with anger. When Roose Bolton's confession reached the north, it did not arrive as ink. It arrived as an insult. Men came to the twins with faces carved from rage and disbelief. Lords who had bled under Robb Stark's banner, who had watched brothers die and told themselves it meant something. Some came ready to kneel. Some came ready to accuse. All came ready to demand a shape to the world that made sense again. In the western tower, torches burned hot, casting hard shadows across stone. Great John Umber was there, huge and furious, fists like hammers. Other northern lords crowded the room, cloaks dripping, boots muddy. Vale witnesses stood near the wall, quiet, watching, because Robb needed the realm to see this was not a private vengeance. It was judgment. Robb held the confession letter in his hands and read it aloud, voice steady despite the heat in the room. Tywin's name, Walder Frey's name, Harrenhal, Warden of the North, Ramsay Snow. Each name landed like a stone thrown into still water, making ripples of curses and sharp breaths. Karstark man snarled, eyes bright. It's a lie, he spat. Forced ink, forced hand. Great John Umber slammed his fist on the table so hard the candle flame shook. If it's a lie, he roared, then why does it taste so true? Robb's gaze cut across the room, cold. Because you all felt it, he said. In the way Bolton men drifted from fights. In the way supply camps burned. In the way he vanished from the twins before the bolts even stopped singing. A lord with a fish embroidered on his cloak, white and silver, spoke quietly. If Roose Bolton betrayed, His house must answer, he said. The dread fort must be brought to heel. Robb nodded once, and Catelyn felt her heart tighten at the implication. The North would be forced to turn its knives inward. "Bring him," Robb ordered. The doors opened, and Roose Bolton was dragged in under guard, chains clinking. His pale face was calm. He looked like a man attending court, not a traitor facing wolves. The room snarled. Great John Umber surged forward like a storm. "Leech," he bellowed. "I'll tear your—" Yohn Royce's voice cut through, sharp. "Hold," he commanded, and his calm made even Great John pause. Vale Steel stepped subtly into place, not threatening, only reminding. "This is a judgment, not a brawl." Robb stepped closer to Roose. "You wrote it," he said. Roose's gaze moved over the northern lords like a man counting cattle. "I did," he replied. A hush fell. Anger held at bay by the simple horror of a traitor admitting truth without shame. Robb turned to the room. "You wanted proof," he said. "Here is proof. Here is the man. Here are Vale witnesses. Here are maesters ready to record every word." He looked back at Roose. "Speak. Tell them if you wrote it willingly." Roose's mouth twitched faintly. "Willingly," he said. The room erupted, curses, threats, the sound of men losing the ability to pretend this was politics. One lord's hand went to his sword. Another spat on the floor. Robb raised a hand, and the room quieted because the room remembered he was king. "You will be judged," Robb said, voice iron. "Not by my anger alone. By the North. By my mother's house. By the Vale, who watched men die under guest right." His eyes narrowed. "And while Tywin Lannister stands across our river, you will remain alive in chains, because your death is a weapon and I will use it when it hurts him most." Great John Umber's lip curled. "Let me hurt him now," he growled. Robb's gaze did not soften. "You will hurt him by holding," Robb said. "By bleeding his wagons. By not splitting when he wants you to split. By proving the North does not crack just because one leech tried to drink it dry." Roose Bolton watched Robb with pale interest. "You sound like a man who has learned," he murmured. Robb leaned close. "I learned from you," he said softly, "and I will unlearn you from my kingdom." He stepped back, and the guards dragged Roose out again, chains scraping stone. As the doors shut, the northern lords looked at Robb Stark. Boy no longer, king hardened by betrayal. And for the first time since the twins, the room felt united by something sharper than grief. Purpose. Sunset painted the river copper, and the copper looked like blood that had decided to glow instead of dry. Tywin's campfires on the east bank burned in dim lines, patient and stubborn. The siege remained. It would remain until something broke. Stone, men, hunger, or politics. Robb had learned that wars ended when one side could no longer afford its story. On the bridge, Robb stood with Yohn Royce and Brynden Tully, looking out across the water. Catelyn joined them with a fresh raven scroll, wax pressed with a rose. Tyrell. Her stomach tightened as she broke it and read. The words were careful and polite, and that politeness made them dangerous. The Tyrells spoke of stability, of the realm's suffering, of the stain of guest right broken, of the need for order. And beneath all that, a single line that made Robb's jaw tighten when Catelyn showed it to him. "Lord Tywin Lannister is required in King's Landing." The Crown's alliances strain. Brynden's brows lifted. "A leash," he muttered. The roses tug the lion back to the city. Yohn Royce's gaze sharpened. "If Tywin leaves," he said, "the siege loses its heart. And if he stays," Robb replied, "he risks losing the city's alliance." He looked at the rose seal again, eyes narrowing. "They're not offering help. They're offering a dilemma." Lyn Corbray leaned on the parapet, smiling faintly. "Dilemmas kill kings," he said pleasantly. "Or make them." Below, Edmure Tully shouted at men moving pitch and stone, preparing for the next night's probes. His voice rose like stubborn defiance. The twins was not a castle built for comfort. It was built for holding. Now it held for its life. Catelyn's gaze drifted to the guarded wagon near the tower stairs. Roose Bolton's chains glinting faintly. The Leash sat silent inside, listening, always listening, as if even now he could still find a way to make his betrayal useful. Robb followed her gaze and then looked back across the river. "If Tywin leaves," Robb said, voice low, "he'll leave someone to keep biting. Kevin," Brynden guessed, "or a stubborn captain with orders to burn everything between here and Riverrun." Jon nodded. "But a captain cannot buy kingdoms," he said. "Only lions can." Robb's mouth tightened. "Then we make him choose to be a lion somewhere else," he said. He looked at the rose seal again. "And we make sure the realm hears the truth while he's busy pretending to be necessary." Catelyn's throat tightened. "And Sansa," she whispered. Robb's eyes flicked to her, pain flashing through the iron. "I haven't forgotten," he said. "I won't." He turned back to the river. "If Tywin pulls back," he said, "we don't chase blindly. We take Harrenhal. We take his roads. We take his fords." His voice hardened. "And when the lion runs to his city, we follow the blood trail he leaves." Jon Royce's posture remained steady. "The Vale will ride with you," he said quietly. Robb exhaled, slow. "Then let the realm see it," he replied. Ravens lift. Head into the orange sky, black wings beating hard, carrying messages, truth, threats, bargains, far beyond the river's copper gleam. Across the water, Tywin's campfires burned. On the bridge, Robb Stark stood alive where he had been meant to die, with wolf and falcon banners above him and the Leash in chains behind him. And in the fading light, he made a decision that would change the shape of the war again. Not by charging the lion head-on, but by forcing the lion to choose where it could afford to bite. The twins held. The realm watched, and somewhere in King's Landing, a rose and a lion tightened their alliance like a noose, not yet realizing that the boy they had tried to kill had learned how to tie knots of his own. Tywin Lannister did not like being summoned. He tolerated it when the summons came in the shape of necessity. A starving city, a rebellious kingdom, a debt that could not be ignored. But when the summons came wearing perfume and courtesy and a rose pressed into wax, he hated it in a colder way. The Raven Scroll lay open in his hands. The words were careful. The Tyrells were always careful. They did not order. They suggested. They did not threaten. They hinted at consequences that would arrive regardless, like winter. Lord Tywin Lannister is required in King's Landing. The Crown's alliances strain. Required. As if he were a servant. As if the realm could be held together without the iron weight of his will. Ser Kevan Lannister watched Tywin's face for the smallest crack. "They mean Joffrey Baratheon," Kevan said quietly. "And Marjorie Tyrell. And the court. The roses want you close to remind the boy what he owes." Tywin's eyes did not lift from the parchment. "The roses want me close so they can measure how much power they can steal while I am distracted," he replied. Behind them, smoke curled from the blackened remains of burned engines. Lannister men hauled fresh timber and rope through the mud, rebuilding teeth that had been cracked in the rain. They would rebuild. Tywin always rebuilt. The question was not whether he could rebuild the siege. The question was whether he could afford to continue paying for it with the realm watching. Qyburn stood near the edge of the canopy, silent and attentive. His small leather case in hand as if war were a patient and he were waiting to open it. His eyes were bright in the way some men's eyes became bright when they saw wounds. Ser Gregor Clegane sat on a bench. His black bulk diminished only by the stiff wrap around his arm and the dried blood along his gauntlet. His face looked like a mountain cracked by lightning. His eyes burned with a rage so steady it felt like hunger. "You leave," Gregor growled, voice thick, "and the wolf will think you run." Tywin folded the Tyrell scroll with precise fingers. "The wolf will think what I permit him to think," he said. Gregor's mouth worked. He looked as if he wanted to crush something in his hands. But even the mountain had learned the shape of Tywin's calm. It was not softness. It was control. An officer approached, bowed low, and spoke quickly. "My lord, the river raid killed Marbrand. The men, The men will live, Tywin said, or they will die. Either way they will obey. The officer swallowed hard and retreated. Kevin leaned closer, voice lowered. If you return to King's Landing, you leave the siege to me, he said. Or to a captain. He hesitated. If you stay, you strain the alliance that keeps the Iron Throne stable. Tywin looked across the river at the twins, banners hanging wet and stubborn. Direwolf, falcon, bronze runes. The bridge stood between them like a bone neither side could swallow without choking. I do not abandon this, Tywin said softly. Kevin's brows tightened. Then what do you do? Tywin's gaze moved over the siege line. The rebuilt scorpions. The ram roof being reskinned. The men with pitch and torches. The officers counting arrows as if arrows were coin. He could break the twins eventually. Stone broke. Men broke. But time was not free. Time cost alliances. Time cost whispers. Time cost the thin impression of inevitability that kept lords kneeling. Tywin Lannister had been taught his whole life to choose the cost he could afford. He turned the Tyrell scroll in his hand once, then handed it to Kevin. Send my reply, he said. Polite, immediate, obedient enough to soothe their vanity. Kevin's eyes narrowed. And the siege? Tywin's mouth tightened. The siege continues, he said. But it changes. He looked toward Qyburn. No more waste. No more hammering the gate like a fool. I want pressure, not spectacle. Qyburn's thin smile flickered. Pressure can be arranged, he murmured. Tywin ignored the tone and spoke to Kevin instead. You will remain here with enough men to keep their sleep broken, he said. Probe, starve, burn their roads, make the Riverlands choke on its own loyalty. Kevin nodded slowly. And you? Tywin looked again at the twins' battlements, imagining Robb Stark there with his bandage and his wolf and his stubborn refusal to die on schedule. I will return to King's Landing, Tywin said, and I will make sure the realm understands this siege is not my desperation. It is my choice. His eyes hardened. And I will send a message across that river that Robb Stark cannot ignore. Gregor's low laugh rumbled. A message, he echoed. Tywin's gaze slid to the black giant. Yes, Tywin said, a message that does not arrive on parchment. Across the river, smoke drifted under gray sky, and the twins held its breath while the lion decided which bite would hurt most. King's Landing did not like uncertainty. It sweated it out in rumors. The small council chamber was thick with perfume that could not hide fear. Cersei Lannister paced, fingers digging into the fabric at her hip as if she could claw the day into obedience. Her green silk shimmered in torchlight. Her eyes did not. Margaery Tyrell sat with practiced calm, hands folded, smiling as if she were watching a play whose ending she already knew. Near her, Olenna Tyrell's dark veil hid most of her face, but not the sharpness of her gaze. Olenna watched Cersei the way a hawk watched a rabbit. Amused, hungry, ready. Varys stood by the window, listening to the city's distant roar. Grand Maester Pycelle hovered over a table of letters with trembling hands. The wax seals a little army of promises and threats. From beyond the chamber door, Joffrey Baratheon's voice rose in an ugly whine. Something about traitors, wolves, and the satisfaction of cutting. Cersei snapped. He is embarrassing, she hissed. Margaery's smile did not change. He is young, she said gently. Young men enjoy certainty. Olenna's soft chuckle came like a blade drawn lazily. Young men enjoy being told they are gods, she said. And gods often sulk when they're reminded they can bleed. Cersei's eyes flashed. And you've come to remind me of what, exactly? Olenna tilted her head. That Lord Tywin Lannister is needed, she replied. Very much needed. Pycelle cleared his throat, voice quavering. A raven from the Riverlands, he said. Reports of the siege at the twins, and of Ser Adam Marbrand's death. Cersei's mouth tightened. Marbrand, she spat. That wolf refuses to die, and now he refuses to lose properly. Varys's voice drifted in, soft. The failed slaughter at the twins has become a story, he murmured, and stories travel faster than armies. Olenna's veil shifted slightly as she leaned forward. Which is why, she said, we would prefer the story to end. Her gaze pinned Cersei. Quickly, Cersei's laugh was bitter. And you think my father will wave a hand and end it? He's not a god. No, Olenna agreed. He's something far more useful. Marjorie's eyes flicked toward the letters. The realm cannot afford Lord Tywin Lannister sitting in mud while my wedding feast is planned, she said softly. The city is restless. The faith is restless. The lords are whispering about guest right and the gods' anger. Her smile warmed as if offering kindness. A strong hand must be visible. Cersei bristled. My hand is visible. Olenna's chuckle returned. Dear, your hand is visible the way wildfire is visible, she said. Bright, uncontrolled. Best kept under a lid until someone wiser decides where to pour it. Cersei's lips thinned. Careful, she warned. Olenna did not care. Lord Tywin Lannister returns, she said simply. Or the city begins to believe the Lannisters are not inevitable. Varys's eyes lowered, as if pitying the word inevitable for being so fragile. There is also the matter of the girl, he added softly. Cersei's gaze snapped. Sansa Stark. Marjorie's smile turned faintly sad. A hostage, she said. Useful, dangerous. And now her brother's threats have made her valuable in a different way. Olenna's voice went cool. Do not make her a martyr, she said. Do not paint the North righteous with your cruelty. If Robb Stark wants hostages, let him ask. If he wants to bargain, let him bargain. She tilted her head. And if he refuses, let his stubbornness starve him. Cersei stared at the rose seal on the table as if she wanted to crush it with her teeth. You are very eager to speak of starving, she said. Olenna smiled beneath her veil. My dear, she replied. We Tyrells grow things. We know exactly how to starve a plant without killing it, until the moment we choose. Cersei's throat tightened with rage she could not spit out without consequences. The roses were allies. They were also vines, creeping around the lion's throat. Pycelle fumbled another letter. A raven from Lord Tywin, he began. Cersei snatched it from him. Her eyes moved quickly. Her face did not soften. He comes, she said flatly. He comes back to this city. Marjorie's smile brightened just a fraction. Olenna exhaled as if a knot had loosened. Varys's gaze drifted toward the door where Joffrey's voice still whined. Then we must ensure the king remains presentable, he murmured. Cersei folded the letter slowly. And we must ensure Robb Stark learns what it means to threaten the crown, she said, voice like ice. Olenna's veil tilted. Do not be foolish, she warned softly. Foolishness is expensive. Cersei's eyes flashed. Everything is expensive, she replied. Outside, King's Landing kept sweating. Inside, roses and lions tightened their alliance like a noose and pretended it was a wreath. And far away, on a river bridge choked with smoke, a boy king held the twins and made the realm pay attention. Tywin Lannister sent his message at noon, when the sun was brightest and the gods were most awake. A white banner appeared on the east bank, fluttering damply in the wind. Behind it stood a Lannister envoy in red and gold, posture rigid, hands empty and visible. A second man held the banner pole. A third carried a sealed scroll. No arrows flew. Not yet. Robb Stark watched from the west parapet with Yohn Royce beside him and Catelyn just behind, her presence a quiet, dangerous steadiness. Brynden Tully stood nearer the gate, eyes narrowed, as if he expected the white cloth to hide a knife. Edmure Tully paced along the bridge tower below, snapping orders. If he runs, you shoot, he warned. If they push forward, you shoot. If you see steel in their sleeves, you... Enough? Robb called down, and Edmure fell silent, jaw working. Robb lifted his voice across the river. Speak, he commanded. The envoy bowed stiffly. By order of Lord Tywin Lannister, he said, voice carrying. Terms are offered. Terms? Brynden muttered, and spat over the parapet. The envoy ignored him. Walder Frey is to be returned, he said. Roose Bolton is to be returned. In exchange, the crown will return Sansa Stark alive and unharmed, and will recognize the Riverlands' grievances under. Catelyn's breath turned to ice at her daughter's name. She felt Robb stiffen beside her as if the word had struck him. Robb's voice stayed steady. Alive and unharmed, he repeated. After you threatened her. The envoy's jaw tightened. The realm cannot tolerate rebellion, he said. Yohn Royce's voice was calm as stone. The realm cannot tolerate broken guest right, he replied. And yet you tolerate it when it profits you. The envoy swallowed once, eyes flicking toward the window slit where Walder Frey's chained silhouette could be seen, watching like a rat in a cage. Lord Tywin Lannister also offers clemency, the envoy continued, forcing the words out. If Robb Stark lays down his crown and swears fealty. Lyn Corbray's laugh carried from somewhere behind the battlement, bright and ugly. He offers you your own throat back, Lyn called. How generous. Robb's eyes did not leave the envoy. Tell Tywin Lannister this, Robb said, voice like iron. I will not trade justice for a hostage. Catelyn's throat tightened. She wanted to argue. She wanted to scream that Sansa was not a coin, but she heard the firmness in Robb's tone, the terrible truth that if he yielded to threats, he would be threatened forever. If he traded Walder Frey, Tywin would buy another butcher. If he traded Roose Bolton, Tywin would buy another leech. Robb continued, voice carrying over the river. Sansa Stark is my sister. You return her because she is not yours. His jaw tightened. And if she is harmed, I will hang Walder Frey from his own bridge and feed your envoy to the river. The envoy's face went pale. You, he began. Brynden's voice cut in sharp. He means it, he said. Robb lifted the confession letter, its copy sealed and witnessed. And you tell your lord, Robb added, that the realm has seen Roose Bolton's hand. The North knows. The Riverlands knows. The Vale knows. He glanced toward Yohn. You cannot buy treachery in the dark anymore. The envoy's lips pressed thin. Lord Tywin Lannister does not bargain under threats, he snapped. Robb's smile was thin and humorless. Then he should stop using girls as knives, Robb said. For a heartbeat, the river seemed to hush, listening. The envoy lifted the sealed scroll, offered it outward across empty air. These are the terms, he insisted. You will consider them. Robb shook his head once. No, he said. Edmure Tully bellowed from below, unable to help himself. Tell him to choke on his terms. Robb did not smile. He kept his gaze on the envoy until the man's courage faltered. You will take this back, Robb said, voice low, deadly. Sansa Stark returns, alive and whole, and Tywin Lannister withdraws his siege. In exchange, I will deliver Walder Frey's living sons back to him one by one. He paused, letting the offer hang like a blade. He can keep his leech. The leech stays chained. The envoy's mouth opened, then shut. His eyes flicked toward the Lannister line behind him as if searching for permission to be outraged. I will carry your words, he said stiffly. You will carry something else, Yohn Royce added quietly. He nodded to a guard, and a second parchment was brought. Roose Bolton's confession, copied and sealed. Take this, Yohn said. Read it on the ride. Let it rot in your mouth. The envoy's hand hesitated, then took it with 2 fingers as if it were poison. Robb watched him turn away beneath the white banner. No ero flu. Not yet. The rules of Parley were still standing, shaky but present. Catelyn looked at the east bank and imagined Sansa in a tower, hands clasped, listening to men decide her value. Robb's voice softened by a fraction, enough to hurt. I will bring her home, he murmured, and Catelyn did not know if he was speaking to her or to himself. Across the river, the white banner retreated. The siege did not lift, but the realm had heard the terms, and somewhere in King's Landing, A queen's mouth would tighten, and a lion's patience would decide which cruelty to pay next. Tywin Lannister answered Robb Stark's refusal the way he answered everything, by making someone else pay. He did not throw another stone at the gate that night. He did not waste men dragging the ram through fire again. Instead, he turned his attention to the river itself because rivers were patience made visible. On the east bank, Lannister soldiers shoved heaps of brushwood and pitch-soaked timbers toward the water, their faces shining with sweat and firelight. Ser Kevan Lannister stood among them, voice sharp, forcing order into the work. "Keep the line tight," Kevan snapped. "If you panic, you die. If you drop it early, you die." Nearby, Qyburn watched with quiet fascination, holding a small jar of thick black liquid that did not look like common pitch. It clung to glass in slow, hungry strands. "Not too much," Qyburn murmured, as if speaking about medicine. "A little spreads farther." Kevin's eyes flicked to him, distrustful. "What is it?" he demanded. "A refinement," Qyburn replied softly. "It floats. It burns. It sticks." His smile was thin. "It teaches lessons." Ser Gregor Clegane stood in shadow, arm wrapped, watching the work with a predator's impatience. He wanted to smash the gate. He wanted to lift men and throw them. This pushing burning heaps into a river felt too quiet for his hunger. Kevan raised a hand. "Archers ready," he shouted. The brushwood heaps were pushed into the river and caught the current. Firelight danced on the moving water. The burning mass drifted downstream toward the bridge, toward the west tower, toward the place where the defenders watched with bows drawn and throats tight. Across the water, the twins' men did not shout. They did not panic. They watched the fire on the river the way men watched an animal's eyes in the dark, knowing it would try to bite. On the parapet, Robb Stark stood with Jon Royce and Edmure Tully, gaze hard. "He's trying to set the bridge," Edmure snarled. "He's trying to set the mind," Jon corrected. "A bridge can be repaired." Fear lingers. More burning heaps followed, one after another, a slow procession of flame on water. The smell reached the west bank. Pitch, smoke, something sharper that made eyes water. "Hooks," Robb ordered. "Get hooks on ropes. Drag it aside." Men rushed with long iron hooks, their faces lit orange by drifting fire. They lowered hooks into the water, caught at burning timber, and hauled. The current fought them. The flames licked at the hook shafts, blackening wood, biting fingers with heat. A Lannister arrow hissed out of the darkness and struck a man in the shoulder. He cried out and dropped his hook. The burning heap surged closer. "Shields up," Edmure roared. "Cover them." Veil shields rose along the parapet, catching the next arrow volley with thuds and cracks. Northmen returned fire, arrows vanishing into shadow and returning as distant screams. The largest burning heap slammed against the bridge's outer timber braces and stuck. Fire Lee. King greedily. Men cursed. Hooks tugged. The wood groaned. Robb saw the jar in Qyburn's hands across the river. Just a glint of glass catching flame, and understood that this was not mere pitch. This was something meant to cling. "Water!" Robb shouted. "Buckets! Sand! Smother it!" Men ran with buckets, with wet cloaks, with sand sacks ripped open. They dumped and pressed and beat at flame. Smoke rolled upward, thick and choking. The fire fought back, stubborn, crawling. Found seams, licked them, tried to burrow. Gray wind snarled, the sound low and furious, as if the wolf could smell the intent in the smoke. Robb stepped forward himself, grabbed a wet cloak from a stunned man, and slapped it down over the most stubborn flame. Heat burned his hands through cloth. He did not flinch. He pressed harder until the flame died into smoke. "Again," Jon Royce muttered, not despairing, only grim. "He'll do it again." Robb looked across the river through smoke and saw Kevan Lannister's silhouette and, farther back, the black bulk of Gregor Clegane and the stillness beneath Tywin's canopy. "He thinks he can teach us to fear the river," Robb said softly. Edmure's eyes burned. "Let him try," he snarled. The burning heaps drifted past, broken apart, smothered, dragged aside. The bridge did not catch, but the night had been spent awake, choking on smoke, bleeding from arrows, exactly as Tywin intended. When the last flame died, the river returned to darkness, carrying embers away like tiny fleeing stars. Across the water, Kevan turned toward the canopy, and Tywin Lannister's silhouette did not move. The siege tightened without a single stone thrown, and in the twins, men coughed in smoke and understood that holding was not only fighting. Holding was enduring the enemy's patience. In the Eyrie, Petyr Baelish tried to solve defiance the way he solved everything, by making it personal. He cornered Lysa Arryn in the Moon Door chamber because the Moon Door made people remember falling. Fear did half his work for him. Torchlight flickered on pale stone. The open Moon Door yawned black, wind roaring up from the abyss like laughter without joy. Lysa stood near it, face wet with tears, hands trembling. Petyr's hand held her wrist. Not gentle, not rough, simply holding, as if possession could be mistaken for protection. Robert Arryn clung to Nestor Royce, sobbing thinly, his small body shaking. The boy's eyes kept flicking to the Moon Door as if it might swallow the argument. Anya Waynwood stood opposite Petyr, calm as winter. 2 guards in silver helms stood behind her. Maester Coleman hovered with a raven scroll, hands trembling. Petyr's smile was soft, tired, reasonable. "This has gone too far," he said gently. The boy spoke, and now everyone thinks bravery is contagious. Anya's eyes did not blink. "Sometimes it is," she replied. Petyr's gaze slid to Robert, voice warming. "My lord," he murmured. "You are frightened. You are tired. Would you like your knights to come home?" Robert's sob caught. He looked at Petyr, then at Anya, then back toward his mother. "I," he whispered. Lysa surged forward, desperate. "Robert," she pleaded. Tell them you want to be safe." Anya spoke softly, careful not to break the boy with her words. "My lord," she said. "Safe does not mean hiding while bad men win." Petyr's smile thinned by a fraction. "Bad men," he echoed, and the echo was almost mocking. He stepped closer to Anya. "You speak of bad men as if the world is simple. It isn't. The world is hunger and coin and threats. The Vale cannot fight the crown and survive." "The Vale is not fighting the crown," Anya replied. "The Vale is fighting treachery." Petyr's eyes flashed, quick and angry beneath the charm. "Treachery," he said, tasting the word. "A lovely word that means whatever the speaker needs." Maester Coleman swallowed and held up the raven scroll. "My lady," he murmured to Anya. Another message from the twins, Lord Robert Arryn's seal again. "He insists the host remains." Lysa's breath hitched. Petyr's grip tightened on her wrist. "You see what they're doing?" Petyr hissed softly to Lysa, too low for most to hear. "They're using your son like a banner. They're stealing him." Lysa's face twisted, panic blooming. "They are," she whispered. Petyr lifted his voice, turning the whisper into theater. "My lady wife," he announced. "As regent, you will command the Vale home. If these lords refuse, they are traitors to House Arryn." His eyes locked on Anya. "And traitors fall." The wind howled through the Moon Door as if laughing at the word fall. Anya's voice stayed even. "If you push for the Moon Door," she said, "you will discover how quickly the Vale stops tolerating your little games." Petyr's smile returned. "Sharp. Games," he murmured. "This is survival." Robert's thin voice rose, breaking, raw. "Stop!" he screamed, and the shout startled even him. Tears poured down his cheeks. "Stop, stop, stop." Silence slammed into the chamber like a door. Robert's small hands clenched in Nestor Royce's cloak. He looked at his mother. He looked at Petyr. His mouth trembled. I don't like him," Robert whispered, voice barely there. Lysa went still as if struck. "Robert," she breathed, wounded. Petyr's smile froze. Robert swallowed hard, trying to be brave and failing and trying again. He makes me scared," Robert whispered. "Not the war. Him." The words hung in the air like a knife. Anya Waynwood stepped forward one pace, gentle now. "My lord," she said. "Then you will be safe." Her gaze flicked to the guards. "Remove Lord Baelish from this chamber." Peter's smile snapped back into place too quickly. "You can't," he said softly. "I am a guest." Anya cut in. "And not a beloved one." Her eyes hardened. "You will leave or you will be carried." It was the first time Petyr Baelish looked genuinely uncertain, because uncertain meant he did not know whose hands held the rope. Lisa stared between them, breathing hard, ring on her finger gleaming like a mistake. Petyr loosened his grip on her wrist, slowly, as if releasing her were a choice, not a necessity. He stepped back, hands raised in placating surrender. "Very well," he said, voice smooth again. "I will leave." His eyes flicked to Robert, cold now, measuring. For now. The guards moved in. Petyr turned and walked away from the moon door with the same graceful steps he had used when entering, as if the hall had not just denied him. Behind him, Robert Arryn sobbed into Nestor Royce's cloak, exhausted and terrified, but still standing where he had chosen to stand. And in the Eyrie, the mockingbird's song wavered for the first time, threatened by something Petyr Baelish had never respected enough: a frightened boy's honest dislike. Help arrived the way it always did in war, late, battered, and precious. Riverlord riders came to the twins under night's cover, mud up to their knees, faces drawn. They brought small banners, Mallister, Blackwood, Piper, whatever was left of houses that had not been burned hollow. They brought men who smelled of smoke and grief and stubborn refusal to die quietly. Robb met them in the western tower yard with Yohn Royce at his shoulder, the direwolf and falcon hanging above like a promise the river itself had learned to respect. Edmure stood nearby, eyes bright with relief he tried to hide behind hard words. "You came," Robb said, and the simplicity of it made men straighten. A lord with a black bird stitched on his cloak bowed stiffly. "We should have come sooner," he said. "But the roads..." "The roads belong to whoever bleeds on them," Brynden Tully muttered, appearing from shadow, his face hard. He did not greet, he assessed. Among the new arrivals, Beric Dondarrion stood quietly beside Thuras of Myr. The Brotherhood without banners did not bow. They did not kneel. They simply watched the castle that had become a symbol and decided whether its king deserved their knives. Thuras grinned crookedly at Robb. "Nice place you've taken," he said. "Smells like betrayal." "It does," Robb replied, voice flat. Beric's eyes held Robb's, old and tired. "We've been killing your enemy's foragers," he said. "It helps, but it doesn't end it." "No," Robb agreed. "It starves it." Yohn Royce's voice was calm. "That is all a siege is," he said. "A starving contest. Tywin Lannister believes he has more food than your patience." Beric's mouth tightened. "He has more cruelty," he said. Catelyn watched the Riverlords and the outlaws mingle in the yard. Men who would have called each other enemies in a gentler world now sharing firelight because the lion across the river made them kin. She felt the strange, bitter gratitude of a woman who had learned that alliance was often born from shared pain. Edmure stepped forward, voice rough. "If you've come to bleed him," he said, "we have plenty of work." The Riverlords nodded. One spat into the mud. "We've already been bleeding," he said. "We want it to matter." Robb's eyes hardened. "Then it will," he said. He looked at the gathered men. Vale Knights, Northmen, Riverlords, ragged outlaws. Tywin Lannister cannot feed his host from smoke. He cannot rebuild engines with ashes. He cannot hold the siege if every road behind him becomes a throat that bites. Brynden's voice cut in sharp. "We need coordination," he said. "No hero charges. No stupid glory. Every ambush hits wagons. Every ambush kills messengers. Every ambush leaves no survivors to boast." Lyn Corbray's laugh carried from a stare, bright and amused. "No survivors?" he called. "That seems a shame. I do enjoy watching men run." Yohn Royce shot him a look that could have frozen flame. Lyn only smiled wider. Robb turned back to the Riverlords. "You know, The woods, he said. You know the fords. You know which villages still have grain hidden under floorboards. His voice dropped. Tywin will burn them to punish you. He will do it anyway. So you choose. Do you let him burn you slowly? Or do you make him choke on every mouthful he tries to steal? A lord's jaw tightened. We make him choke, he said. Beric Dondarrion nodded once. We make him choke, he echoed. Thoros grinned. And if he doesn't choke, he said, we set him on fire until he remembers how to. A harsh laugh ran through the yard, men tasting humor because they needed something that wasn't despair. Catelyn's gaze flicked toward the guarded wagon where Roose Bolton's chains glinted in torchlight. Even captured, the Leash was still part of this war's story, a reminder that enemies could live inside a banner. Robb followed her gaze, and his mouth tightened. And if any man thinks of following Bolton, he said quietly, he will see what Bolton becomes. The Riverlords' faces hardened. They had lost too much to tolerate another clever betrayal. The yard filled with movement, men being assigned to walls, to patrols, to raids. Firelight danced on wet stone. Above, the river wind moaned through tower gaps like a ghost refusing to leave. Across the water, Tywin's campfires still burned. But for the first time in days, the twins felt less alone in its holding. Tywin Lannister left the siege the way he did everything, without appearing to retreat. He mounted his horse beneath a gray sky with a small escort, enough men to be safe, not enough to look frightened. His cloak was clean, his armor gleamed. The mud did not touch him because men scraped it away before he stepped. Ser Kevan Lannister remained behind under the canopy, maps spread, officers waiting. Kevin's face was tight with the weight of what it meant to hold a siege without the lion's head. My lord, Kevin said quietly, if the boy strikes hard while you're gone, he will strike, Tywin replied, and you will not indulge him. He looked at Kevin with cold certainty. You will not chase. You will not waste men on pride. You will keep the pressure steady until the twins cracks or until the Riverlands starves itself trying to feed it. Kevin nodded once, jaw clenched. As you command. Qyburn stepped forward and handed a sealed letter to a rider. The seal was Lannister gold. The message would go where Tywin needed it, to fear, to whispers, to the soft underbellies of alliances. Ser Gregor Clegane watched Tywin mount with a scowl like a storm. You leave, he growled. Let me take the bridge. Tywin's gaze slid to him, cold. You will take what I tell you to take, he replied. And you will stop bleeding like a butchered ox. His voice lowered. If you die here, Gregor Clegane, you become a song the Riverlands sings. I do not permit my weapons to become songs. Gregor's hands clenched. He wanted to roar. He wanted to break something. Instead, he swallowed it because even monsters could be trained. Tywin looked across the river one last time at the Twins' towers. He could not see Robb Stark clearly at this distance, but he could feel the boy's stubbornness like a thorn in the realm's foot. You did not die at the feast, Tywin thought, and the thought was not anger so much as irritation. So you will die another way. He turned his horse and began to ride away from the river, escort following. The siege remained behind him like a machine he had built and left to run. Across the water, the twins still held. Robb Stark would hear that Tywin had gone, and hope would try to sneak into men's chests like warmth. Tywin did not fear hope. He feared what men did when hope made them careless. So he sent his rider with Qyburn's sealed letter and a second with a different message. One that would not arrive in wax, but in flame. Let the boy celebrate the lion's absence, Tywin thought. Then let him learn the lion still has claws. King's Landing greeted Tywin Lannister the way it greeted all power, with sweat and pretense. The Red Keep's courtyard shimmered with heat haze. Guards snapped to attention. Servants bowed too quickly. Ravens rattled in cages as if they could smell the city's hunger for news. Tywin dismounted with controlled ease, as if he had not left mud and smoke only days before. His eyes swept the courtyard, measuring faces, measuring loyalty, measuring which smiles were knives. Cersei Lannister moved toward him like a storm in green silk, Her expression barely contained fury. "You left the siege," she hissed the moment she was close enough. Tywin's gaze did not shift. "I returned to keep your son from breaking the realm," he replied. Cersei's mouth twisted. "He is king." "He is a boy," Tywin said flatly, "and the realm is not a toy." Above them, Joffrey Baratheon watched from a balcony with a pouty scowl, fingers tapping the railing as if the world existed to entertain him. Margaery Tyrell stood nearby, serene, smiling as if the arrival were exactly as she had planned. Olenna Tyrell's veil tilted, her eyes sharp and satisfied. Varys waited near a pillar, hands folded. Pycelle hovered, trembling. The Master of Ravens held scrolls like offerings. Tywin did not waste time with greetings. "Where is Sansa Stark?" he asked. Cersei's eyes narrowed. "In her room," she snapped. "Under guard." "Bring her," Tywin said. Cersei bristled. "For what?" "For reality," Tywin replied. He turned toward the council chambers. "And bring Joffrey Baratheon as well. He will learn that threats are weapons best used with care, not tantrums." Cersei's breath hitched. She wanted to argue. She did not. She followed, because she had been taught all her life that Tywin's will was a ceiling. Inside, the small council chamber awaited. Perfume, ink, politics. The Tyrells entered with soft smiles, acting as if they were hosts in a castle they had not built. Tywin did not acknowledge their performance. He sat at the head of the table as if it were carved for him. Olenna's voice was sweet. "You've been busy," she said. "How charming of you to visit the Riverlands." Tywin's eyes slid to her. "The Riverlands are awound," he replied. "I left Kevin to apply pressure. I returned to ensure the realm's heart does not stop beating while its limbs fight." Margaery's smile warmed. "We are grateful," she said. Tywin did not pretend to believe her gratitude. He opened the first Raven scroll, reports of the twins, reports of raids, reports of burning wagons. Then he opened the second, threats, proclamations, the Whisper Network's summary of Roose Bolton's confession spreading like fire through dry grass. Tywin's mouth tightened. "The boy has learned," he said quietly. Varys inclined his head. "He has also inspired," Varys murmured. "The River Lords stir. The Brotherhood grows bolder. Even the Vale hesitates to withdraw." Cersei snapped. "Because Petyr Baelish is failing," she spat. Tywin's gaze sharpened. "Petyr Baelish will be corrected," he said. Joffrey Baratheon entered then, flanked by guards, face pinched with sulking arrogance. "Grandfather," he said, as if the word tasted bad. Tywin did not rise. "Sit," he ordered. Joffrey stared, then sat, grudging. A moment later, Sansa Stark was brought in. She moved like a frightened deer, shoulders tight, hands clasped. She kept her eyes lowered. Her face was pale. Tywin watched her for a long moment. "You are a hostage," he said, not cruelly, not kindly, simply as fact. "Hostages are valuable when they are alive." Sansa's breath shook. She did not speak. Tywin turned his gaze to Joffrey. "If you harm her," he said, voice like stone, "you make Robb Stark righteous. You make him unstoppable." Joffrey's face reddened. "He threatens me," he snapped. "He threatens." "He threatens because you gave him reason," Tywin cut in. "You will stop giving him reason." Cersei's eyes flashed. "We cannot look weak," she hissed. Tywin's gaze slid to her, and the room went colder. "We do not look weak," he said. "We look inevitable." He leaned forward slightly. "Which means we choose where the war is fought." Olenna's veil tilted. "And where is that?" she asked softly. Tywin's eyes narrowed. "Not on a bridge where every man can see us bleed," he said. "We will choke the boy elsewhere." He glanced at Sansa. "We will remind him what he cannot protect." He glanced at Joffrey. "And we will remind the realm who holds the city." Sansa's hands trembled. She could feel the noose tighten without anyone touching her. Tywin Lannister stood, and every man in the room felt the weight of his decision settle like iron. "Send ravens," he ordered, "to every lord. Call Bolton's confession coerced. Call Robb Stark a butcher. Call the twins a nest of traitors." His eyes hardened. "And prepare my granddaughter's wedding. The realm will celebrate while the Riverlands starves." Marjorie's smile did not falter. Olenna's eyes gleamed. Cersei's mouth tightened into something like satisfaction. And Sansa Stark stood very still, because she had learned that when lions spoke of celebration, someone else always bled for it. Tywin Lannister's message arrived as fire. A raiding party in red cloaks swept through the Riverlands under night, torches raised, laughter sharp. They burned a farmstead that had dared to send bread toward the twins. They dragged a man into the yard and hung him from his own beam while his wife screamed. They set the grain stores alight and watched the flames climb, satisfied. The Riverlands had learned a truth. The lion punished what he could not conquer. But the Riverlands had also learned how to bite back. Beric Dondarrion's men came out of the trees like ghosts, blades flashing. Thoros of Myr's torch flared, and for a heartbeat the yard became a stage of fire and steel. A Lannister man turned too late and took an arrow in the throat, falling with hands clawing at air. Another screamed as a spear took him in the gut. The red cloaks tried to form a ring, shields up, shouting for discipline. The captain bellowed orders. He had done this before. Burn, threaten, leave before outlaws could gather. Then hoofs thundered on the road. Vale knights crashed into the yard like a storm, shields up, swords down, cutting into the Lannister flank. The captain's eyes widened in disbelief. "The Vale!" he shouted, voice breaking. The Vale, Lyn Corbray would have laughed. But Lyn was not there. These were quieter men, Royce men, Waynwood men, moving like discipline made flesh. A Lannister rider tried to flee toward the trees. Gray wind hit him from the smoke, dragging horse and man down. Flames reflected in the direwolf's eyes, making him look like a creature from some older story. Robb Stark arrived behind, a small escort at his back, mud on his boots and iron in his gaze. He did not charge into the flames like a boy seeking glory. He moved around the edge, cutting exits, turning the yard into a net. "Leave none who carry torches," Robb ordered, voice cold. A Lannister man dropped his torch and raised his hands. "Mercy," he cried. Robb's eyes did not soften. "Mercy was in the bread you burned," he replied. Beric Dondarrion stepped close, blade wet. "We take prisoners," Beric said quietly. "We trade them. We learn." Robb nodded once. "Take some," he agreed, "but make the rest an example." The captain tried to rally again, voice cracking. "To me!" he shouted, swinging his sword wildly. An arrow took him in the throat mid-word. He toppled backward into ash and died with a soft, surprised sound. The raiding party broke then, discipline collapsing into panic. Men ran, men fell, fire roared. When it was done, the farmstead still burned, but the Lannister men lay in the yard like thrown red cloth, and the surviving small folk stared at Robb Stark and the Vale Knights as if seeing justice made real for the first time in years. A woman stumbled toward Robb, face streaked with soot and tears. "They took my boy," she sobbed. "They!" Robb's jaw tightened. He looked at Beric, then at Yohn Royce's men. "Find him," he ordered. "If he lives, bring him back, Tach." The woman's hands flew to her mouth. She did not believe. Belief had been beaten out of the Riverlands long ago. Robb looked at the burning beam where the man had hung and felt his rage settle into something colder. Tywin Lannister wanted to teach him he could not protect everything. Robb Stark would answer by making sure the lion paid for every lesson. As the flames crackled, a raven lifted from a nearby tree and vanished into night, carrying news toward the twins. The siege was not only on the bridge. It was on the entire Riverlands, and the Riverlands had begun to fight back like a wounded animal that refused to be butchered quietly. By midnight, the twins felt less like a castle and more like a heartbeat. Maps covered the table. Raven scrolls piled high like driftwood after a flood. Maesters copied Roose Bolton's confession again and again. Wax seals pressed until their fingers went numb. because truth had to be repeated until it became louder than gold. Robb stood over the table with Jon Royce and Brynden Tully, eyes shadowed, jaw tight. Edmure pointed at Harrenhal on the map, finger jabbing as if he wanted to punch the castle through parchment. If Tywin leaves the siege to Ser Kevan Lannister, Edmure argued, we hit Harrenhal, we take it, we take his belly. And if Kevan stays steady? Brynden asked. Then we keep starving him, Jon replied. We do not chase the lion's tail while its claws still scratch at our bridge. Catelyn held a letter in her hands, knuckles white. Sansa's name lay on the page like a wound. The Crown's threats were not just words anymore. They were a tightening rope around a girl's throat. Robb saw it and his eyes softened for a heartbeat, pain cutting through iron. I haven't forgotten, he said quietly. Catelyn's voice shook. They will hurt her, she whispered. They will try, Robb replied, and the steadiness in his voice was the only thing keeping Catelyn from breaking. And we will answer. Beric Dondarrion stood near the wall, silent, watching the lords argue. He looked like a man who had died and kept walking anyway, and perhaps he had. His presence made the room feel less noble and more honest. In the corner, Roose Bolton sat in chains, pale eyes fixed on the map. He did not speak unless spoken to. That was his punishment for now. Silence while men shaped the world he had tried to sell. You look like you're still counting, Brynden muttered toward him. Roose's mouth twitched faintly. Counting is how men survive, he replied softly. Robb's gaze snapped to him. You survived, Robb said. Now you will watch your survival become useless. Roose's eyes remained calm. Uselessness is the only death I fear, he murmured. Jon Royce's voice cut through the tension. A raven from the Vale, he said, holding up a fresh scroll. Robb took it and broke the seal. The message was short, written in Anya Waynwood's hand and stamped with Lord Robert Arryn's seal. The Vale host remained. Petyr Baelish had been removed from the Ares Inner Council. Any lord who fled now would be named in the Vale's records as a coward. Robb exhaled slowly. Relief tried to rise in him like warmth and found iron instead. Good, he said. Catelyn's eyes closed briefly, gratitude sharp as pain. Brynden's mouth tightened into something like approval. Then we bleed the lion until he's forced to choose between siege and city, he said. Robb nodded once, decision settling. We hold the twins with enough men to make it unbreakable, he said. Edmure commands the towers. Jon, your knights hold the bridge line. His gaze turned to Beric. The Brotherhood high. T.S. the woods. Every wagon. Every messenger. Every raider. Beric inclined his head. We already do, he said quietly. Robb's eyes narrowed, voice dropping. And I will send a message to King's Landing, he said. Not a threat, a certainty. He looked at Catelyn. Sansa Stark will come home. Catelyn's throat tightened. She could not speak, so she nodded. Robb turned back to the map, finger tracing the roads leading to the city. Tywin Lannister thinks he can end wars with feasts, with fear, with time, Robb said softly. Let him. His eyes hardened. I will end this one by taking away the thing he trusts most. And what is that? Edmure asked, voice rough. Robb's gaze lifted to the piled raven scrolls, to the confession copies, to the banners above the table. Wolf and falcon hanging together like a promise the realm could not ignore. Control, Robb said. Outside, the wind rattled the windows like impatient fingers. Inside, the twins' war room burned with candlelight and resolve. The siege still waited across the river. King's Landing still held Sansa Stark. Tywin Lannister still had time, and roses and lions still tightened their alliance. But now the Riverlands had begun to bite everywhere at once. The Vale had refused to be recalled by a mockingbird's ring, and a boy king who should have died at a wedding was learning how to squeeze the realm's throat without ever stepping into the lion's mouth again. The next move would not be a single battle. It would be the slow collapse of the lion's certainty, until even Tywin Lannister was forced to admit that time was not his alone.